Okay, to get you caught up, we got the furrowing blade set up. We had to buy the shank, the black shank, to go on the blade itself, and the swivel bracket, and got all this at Agri Supply. And so we needed something. We needed a way to attach this and be able to use a swivel bracket so that we can angle this furrowing blade back and forth to change the pitch as to, you know, how aggressive we want it to cut. Basically, it's probably a little bit much of a furrowing blade for what we're going to use it for. We're just basically going to cut a furrow in ground that's already been tilled, and it's pretty fluffy and easy to put a furrow in. But nevertheless, we could use it in other applications as well. So we got the swivel bracket on there. We needed a piece to go in here. So after getting it bolted together, it's not really a great fit, but after getting it somewhat bolted together, I measured this distance and the distance on the back, and I came up with a I guess you'd say an average measurement of 5/8. So 5/8 is the thickness we need to go in here. You wouldn't believe the trouble that you go through to try to find a 5/8 piece of flat bar stock around here. That's proven to be one of the most difficult pieces to find. I can get a 20-foot stick, but I got to buy the whole 20-foot stick. It's $40 for the stick, and then $20 for them to cut it in half, or to cut a piece off of it, which I can cut it myself, but I'd have to drag my 20-foot trailer down there to get a 20-foot stick and be able to bring it home. And that would entail making, you know, I've already made one trip down there. I don't want to make two. So anyway, I managed to find a piece of 5/8. Now, ideally what I wanted was 5/8 by 1.5 inches by 12 to 18 inches long. What I found laying around here in my smorgasbord of odds and ends was a piece 5/8 by 1 inch by 7 inches long. I went on and just used that, and I welded it onto a piece of the 1 3/8 inch square bar stock, the same stuff that we used on the back of the implement, and I welded it right to the end of it. I didn't feel like I really needed a whole lot of adjustment there. If it comes down to it and I don't have enough adjustment, then I'll cut this off and I'll go get a 12 or 18 inch long piece and bore a bunch of holes in it and put a bracket on the side so that this will be adjustable up and down. But basically what's going to happen is this piece is going to go up inside of here. It's actually going to go like that. So it's going to go up inside of there, and then we're going to put the bolts through it, and then this will be adjustable like this, and it'll be pulling in that direction. So right now we shot some red paint on it, keep it from rusting, and I think the red paint's going to look alright on there. I don't know. Might go black, I don't know. I just wanted to shoot something on it to keep it from rusting. But anyway, just wanted to give an update on where we're at. Got to let this dry, and then we'll do a test fit in the back of the unit and show you what that looks like. Yakadoogie. Go ahead and slide this jewel up in here. And the way we got it made, we can either put it out here further like that, or we can run it in and have it in there closer. I think for right now, we're going to go like that. And that's kind of how it's going to be, just like that. And this right here is adjustable up and down. We'll just loosen this up on the back here, and we can adjust this and run it down. This is a furrow attachment that's going to cut a furrow as we pull this thing along. Okay, so we got it on the back of the tractor now without the quick attach hitch on there. And as you can see, I've got the top link run out to somewhat tilted back. I may have it tilted back a little bit too far, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get these sweeps so that they're somewhat flat on the ground. And it's going to, you know, be a little bit of tweaking involved when we get out in the field. Ideally, when this is all the way down, we want this to kind of somewhat be straight up and down this way, somewhat level, so that those sweeps are not riding on top of the ground like this, but they're kind of riding parallel with the ground and just kind of bringing up the path of the tires. This furrower will probably need to go down. It's a little high now that we're out here on somewhat level ground. It's a little high. It's over 10 inches high. We probably need to be around 9 inches up from the ground, and that's kind of going to be our starting point. But all in all, I think that the project came together very nice. I think it looks good. I think it'll function good. And I'm not sure how much money I saved or if I saved any money. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to try to work on all of the parts, numbers, everything that I bought as far as like the Furrow Er and the different little gizmos and gadgets and stuff that are pre-made that you buy from Agri Supply. I'll try to get all those item numbers and what they cost, and maybe we'll do an additional video to this to show exactly what it cost me to build this thing, as opposed to buying one, and see if it's really worth building one rather than just going on and buying. Appreciate you watching my video, and let's try to get this thing wrapped up so I can get it all uploaded. Y'all can take a look at it. Okay, so now you've seen what the bedder looks like. I think the bedder turned out real nice. And so let's go over what we had to buy to, create this bedder. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with most of these parts that we bought, but the first one on the top, this cultivator wedge clamp, set screw included, made to fit IHC, International Harvester. This wedge clamp is basically what that 1 3/8 solid stock fits on. It won't fit correctly on 1 1/4 inches. It won't fit correctly on 1 1/2 inches. It needs to be 1 3/8 inches. And they were $19.95 a piece. Now, they did sell cheaper ones over there that did not have these set screws, but these set screws do make a tremendous amount of difference when you're setting it up on there. It makes it a little bit easier to set up. I could have bought the cheaper ones, drilled it, tapped it, and used those, but I'd have to worry about getting them drilled and tapped at the exact right angle and pitch to make them work as effectively as this one. I'm sure out of 4 of these that I needed, I would have screwed up at least one, which meant I would have had to buy another one. So when you start considering that and the time it would take to drill it out, it was just more cost effective to buy it and pay a little bit more for it and get it already done. So that's why I went with the more expensive one. You can do what you will and save a few bucks, but it is what it is. Ironically, these things don't come with these wedge bolts down here. You got to buy them separately. So that's the wedge bolt for it. Then we've got the Furrow Er. It was actually bigger than what we needed, but I figured I could use it for other applications, for doing a furrow in a different scenario than in a bed that was already soft and fluffy. So I went on, it was just as cheap to buy this bigger one as it was to buy a smaller one, so it didn't really matter. The 14-inch disc killer, I felt like 14-inch was a good size. I wasn't sure about this 22-inch shank size, but as it turned out, it worked perfectly. It made everything so that I could measure from the top of the shank down 6.5 inches, and everything across the board was pretty much level. That definitely worked out good. Okay, so scrolling on down, the next item we got is a stem shank that was used with the blah 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 Furrow Er. It bolted to this. These cultivator C shank 2-hole, I referred to those in the videos as C tines, but they actually call them C shanks here. Not a whole lot of difference. This L-shaped gizmo actually bolts to this shank. We needed some bolts and nuts. These are carriage bolts and nuts with low profile heads that actually fit into this field sweep and into the furrower and leave a real smooth surface. So that was kind of something that's specifically made for this type of situation. So I went on and bought a bag of those, and I bought longer ones, 2-inch, than what I really needed. These for this could have been shorter, but then they wouldn't have fit through this and the furrower. So the stem shank, it wouldn't have fit through that, and then through the furrower. I needed a 2-inch to make that work. So next on the list, left hand casting for cultivator. This is part of a 2-part device, and we'll scroll down. The right hand casting is right here, and you put these two together, and that's what actually gives you the ability to tilt that furrower. Okay, these cultivator washers, they actually fit into this slot on this casting, and that's what it actually rides on. It rides on that little nub right there. So the total cost from Agri Supply was $279.18. That did not include tax. That did not include shipping. I went and picked it up, so I didn't have to pay shipping. If you're a farm and you're tax exempt, you won't have to pay tax. I'm not a farm, so I paid the tax on it, and that's on one of the next sheets that I can show you. Okay, so we'll pop over here. We'll look at some Lowe's tickets. Miscellaneous nuts and bolts pretty much on all these tickets. We got $11.28. We got $2.51. We got $4.64. And we got $26.68, and that was for some gloss black paint, some orange paint, which we ended up taking back and getting red because we ended up painting it red. and 2 of these 36 grit sanding discs for the angle grinder. And that's, you know, consumables that you've got to have when you're doing a project like this. So I figured only fair to include that $26.68. Didn't include any welding rods in this estimate either, and that's something else you need to consider. Welding rods, and also oxygen and acetylene for the cutting torch. And I'm sure various other things that I'm, you know, just not thinking of. Okay, so here's one from Richmond Steel, $42.13. This was for the 3/8 by 4-inch flat bar, and the angle iron, 2-inch by 2.5-inch by 3/8 thick, 6 foot long. All the stuff that I got from Richmond Steel, I feel like I got a really good price. I got lucky. Well, I don't know how lucky it is, but they're moving. So because they was moving, they had drops, they had stuff that they didn't want to move, and they was scrapping a lot of stuff out, and I just kind of hit them at the right time, and I feel like I got a fairly decent price on average with everything that I bought. So the next ticket, Richmond Steel again. You know, for example, I got this 1 3/8 inch square solid steel stock, 5 foot long, and they cut it for me, and I got it for $27 and some change, and that was crazy cheap, because a 20-foot stick of this is like $128. I believe that's what he quoted me. This right here, this 2-inch by 2-inch 1/4-inch wall, that was for the square stock, hollow square stock with the heavy wall. I bought a 3-foot piece, and I got it for $16 and some change. I mean, that was pretty cheap for that too. So okay, so that's pretty much it on those. So let's go over and check out the little small spreadsheet I did. Nothing fancy. Just kind of wanted to show up here. We got the agri supply, the total. This was the tax on it, $13.95. So this was our new total from agri supply, $293.13. Then we had these Lowe's tickets, okay, the Richmond Steel tickets, and then all that added together, excluding shipping cost. I didn't have to pay shipping costs because I went and picked everything up, but you may have to pay shipping costs. $426.24 is what I spent building this thing. Everything attachments cost $625 plus tax of $31.25, comes out to $656.25. Now, you would probably have to pay shipping. They do have free shipping if it's within 1,000 miles of where they're located, and they're located in North Carolina. Yeah, you know, they would even ship it further than 1,000 miles for free. I don't know. They may. Who knows? You know, I'm sure probably if you was 1,200 miles away, they'd probably ship it to you for free. But their general rule is 1,000 miles, they'll ship it for free. So without the shipping, $656.25 is what they'll sell it to you for. Air cost to build, $426.24. Subtract this from this, gives us a savings of $230.01. So we saved $230.01 building this thing ourselves. And so then you have to ask yourself, what is your time worth? Because I didn't put any labor cost in building this thing. Okay, so my time, okay, my time to me is worth $65 an hour. That's what my time is worth. And at $65 an hour, we're looking at 3.5 hours to get $230.01. There's no way that I could build this thing in 3.5 hours. I mean, I would be balls wide open to build this thing in 3.5 hours. And that would be if I had everything laid out right in front of me, probably already cut and ready to be just welded together and put together and you know, get it all put together. Paint it, that type of thing. When you start taking into consideration driving down the road and picking up steel, materials, going to Lowe's, going to Agri Supply and picking up the stuff that you need to pick up from Agri Supply, then bringing it back and figuring out how you're going to cut it and how you're going to make it, and then cutting it and filing it and grinding it and sanding it, and then putting it together and building jigs to hold it together so that you can weld it and it not twist and turn as it heats up and then cools back down. You know, building the jigs and everything to do that with, because you're not going to have all that. You're going to be looking at a lot more than 3.5 hours. So, is it worth the $230 savings? I'm not really so sure. I like the one that they make over at Everything Attachments, and based on what I spent and the amount of time that I spent building this one, I would say their price is more than fair. In fact, I don't even know how they're making any money, actually. Now, keep in mind, theirs is made differently than mine. It's not an exact duplicate, but if I made mine exactly like theirs, I would have had to have, you know, $80,000 Whitney press machine to punch all them holes in that piece of angle iron, and I don't have one of them machines. And I could have paid a metal shop to punch those holes for me, but that would have added cost to the job too. So the money I saved on one end, I'd have had to spend on the other end. So anyway, you kind of got to make up your own mind. I hope you enjoyed the video. I appreciate it if you rate, comment, subscribe, and all that kind of stuff. It always helps if you could share the videos, especially the videos. I mean, if you like the videos at all, you like the content that's on YouTube, it always helps to share the videos on your wherever you're at, whatever social media you're using, whether it's Facebook or you know, whatever. I don't know how half that stuff works, but if you share it on there where other people can click on it and come and view it, that really helps. It helps me out. It helps other people like me that are content providers, is what they consider us, to help us out with views, because it literally takes a ton of views for us to make 50 cents off of a video. You know, I know a lot of people probably think we make big money on making these videos, but we really don't. I mean, we literally got to have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of views to even make pennies. So appreciate all the help you guys can give us so that we can continue to make content. And I mainly do it because I enjoy doing it, and I like to do projects like this. So again, appreciate you guys watching my video. Appreciate a thumbs up, thumbs down, leave a comment, tell me what you think.